What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Happy Super Bowl Sunday.
Gentlemen,
What do we got here? Playing a little All-Pro Football 2K8. Had a bye week in my NCAA and Madden league, so I said, hey, let's go back on to APF 2K8. Whenever I have a little break in my online leagues or online dynasties in EA World, I occasionally will pop in and play some All-Pro Football 2K8. And I'm playing a guy here on my friends list, Prince Theo. He's one of the top dogs on the PS3, ranked in the top 20, ranked 15th going into this game. We had a heck of a battle here. You know I'm rocking my Notre Dame unis. And we actually played 2 games. This is the first one. I'll put up the second one as well. And I was putting this team together. West Coast offense, 3-4 defense. That's what Notre Dame runs, so I wanted to run a 3-4. And I was going back to the 2K sports forums and the All-Pro football, the 2K football strategies forums that I used to participate on. And, you know, going back and reading some old threads on the 3-4 and how it's implemented in the game and whatnot while I was putting this team together. And it got me thinking as to why can't football games get the 3-4 defense right? No one has really come close to getting the 3-4 correct. I don't care what game it is. And I was actually having a discussion with a Sim F-Ball critic on this when he was talking about ratings, and I was talking about how I user control an undersized nose tackle with the Jets in my OS Vets league, and he's successful despite being undersized because he's able to block shed and he's strong. And in my experience with, at least in this particular case, All-Pro Football 2K, I'll start out with that first, and in Madden and NCAA too, the actual mass of the linemen don't really matter all that much. But what you do need in order to get the 3-4 to work are guys who can hold their ground and guys who can get off blocks. Which is slightly counterintuitive when you think about it, because in the 3-4 defense, the down lineman, you're asking 3 guys to do the job of 4. So you need big, strong guys who can take up space and free up your linebackers. Like right here. I have on my defensive line here, I have Dan Sayamua, Leonard Marshall, and Dexter Manley. Now, Dexter Manley is like Dwight Freeney. He's a 4-3 edge rusher, but he's able to do work in a 3-4 because he's strong, he has a swim move, and he has a bull rush, and right there is able to flush Joe Montana out of the pocket and force that INT. But in real life, if you put Dwight Freeney in a 3-4 defense, he'd get destroyed. But you can play Dwight Freeney in a 3-4, or in this case, in Madden, or in this case, Dexter Manley, in All-Pro Football 2K8, they're the same kind of player, and they can succeed. Why? Because they can get off blocks. They have, you know, good pass rush move sets. And that's basically the only way I could get this thing to work and cause pressure. They have a strong front 3. I have a gold outside linebacker there, Derek Thomas. Derek Thomas, he's the Marcus Ware of this game. He's one of the best speed rushers of all time. Just a great pass rusher. And I have Carl Mecklenburg in there for you Broncos fans. I'm sure you guys remember Carl Mecklenburg. He's also a good pass rushing inside linebacker. And it's frustrating because in order to free up your linebackers, you have to have defensive linemen who can either beat blocks, or you have to so overload a particular side that you just overwhelm them with sheer numbers. You know, it's very hard to get a pass rush, or just the base pass rush, even if you have an elite outside edge rusher in this game, for a couple of reasons. One, the reason why I just stated, and also because in this game, that rush linebacker doesn't shift with the other linebackers. He stays stationary, so it's hard to get him into space. So if you do have a stud outside linebacker, you need to either flip him to the other side so you can shift him with the other linebackers and do a better job of getting him in space, or be really good at creating overloads, or have 3 stud down linemen who can shoot gaps and penetrate, which really isn't the way a 3-4 is designed to work. But it's the best way to get it to work in this game. And Madden's the same way. In Madden, you need guys who can block shed. Guys with high block shed ratings, high strength ratings, and either a high finesse or power move rating on your defensive line. And you also need that on your outside linebackers too. At Madden, it's a lot easier for the outside linebackers to get involved because all of them can shift. Here, I got the guy to shift here because I flipped the play around. But otherwise, he stays stationary. Plus, I'm in a nickel defense. I'm in a 3-3 nickel defense here. But you'll see when I'm in 3-4, my gold outside linebacker, he can't shift. And that causes problems as far as getting him into space. We can see I can get some pressure here, and it's causing him to get rid of the ball quick. And he's a good player. He's good at getting the ball out fast. I'm doing everything I can to make sure that happens. I only have one coverage guy, and generics can hold their own, provided that you do have that good rush. There again, I got a good rush there. Dexter Manley came free, and it forced a quick throw. And my generic was able to hang. So that is the reason why I think the 3-4 has never worked properly in the video game world. Certainly doable, but not the way you would apply it in real life or realistically. And I'm not quite sure what the solution is. While I think it's important to have physics, size, and mass be a factor in the game, it's really a delicate balance. If you go and skew it one way or the other, you end up with backbreaker. There, Leonard Marshall came free, just beat his man and just crushed the quarterback. Joe Montana in this case. And you also want to take in, you don't want it to be so physics-based that you have a jumbled mess like backbreaker, and also not take into account unique players who are undersized but are unusually strong for their position. Like take Charles Woodson, for example. The Green Bay Packers will occasionally line up Charles Woodson at outside linebacker. Now, why would they do that? It's because Charles Woodson is freakishly strong. Pound for pound, he's one of the strongest guys in the entire NFL. Now, in a strictly physics-based game, Charles Woodson, you wouldn't be able to do that with Charles Woodson because you get dish-ragged by bigger guys every time. Despite the fact that, in reality, Charles Woodson is just as strong or stronger than guys who are much bigger than him. Maurice Jones-Drew, the same way. Tiny guy, but he's solid. He's a brick. He's a very, very strong man. Here again, I try to create an overload here. 3 on, 2 in that gap. And it frees up Dan Sayamua, and he's replaying it right here to see where the pressure came from. That's an example how in video game land it's all about creating one-on-ones. And again, I try to bring it here. And having guys who can beat blocks in one-on-one matchups. As opposed to in the real world where you need that hoss in the middle who can absorb 2 blockers on every play and shield your inside linebackers and also help free up your outside linebackers who in the 3-4 really hybrid players. They're half defensive end, half linebacker. They're tweeners. They're usually a little bit too small to play on the down line on a full-time basis, but also not quite skilled at playing in space full-time. They're tweeners. You know, James Harrison, Lamar Woodley, DeMarcus Ware, those kind of guys, Cameron Wake, etc., etc. You guys know what I'm talking about. So anyway, I'll let you see how the rest of this game plays out once I can get my quarterback decked here. Very good battle here. Here I almost get him. I sell out big time here trying to get a safety. You see how the outside linebacker does not shift? I shifted to a 3-4 over, but the rush linebacker doesn't shift. It makes it very hard for him to use his speed by distorting that angle. He basically becomes a full-time defensive end. And if that's the case, I might as well just play 4-3. So in APF, and this happens consistently, and you're seeing it in this game obviously, the people that generate the most consistent pressure are my nose tackle or one of my defensive ends. There's Dexter Manley coming through along with Leonard Marshall. And that's wrong. That happens, you know, it happens obviously. Down linemen in the 3-4, they get sacks, but they don't dominate the pass rush. Not if you have, you know, good outside linebackers. And in this case, I have a stud one. I have one of the best that you can possibly have. In Madden, this past season in OS Vets, I run a multiple defense with the Jets and OS Vets. My defensive end, O.C. Umenyiora, had 8 sacks in 11 games before getting hurt, and Calvin Pace, one of my linebackers, had 8 sacks. So you have better OLB production, but again, O.C. Umenyiora, you know, playing half the time in a 3-4 shouldn't be that successful either. In Season 1, my defensive tackle, who I user controlled, Muhammad Wilkerson, he had 14 sacks. You know, playing roughly half the time between 3-4 and 4-3. Now let's say for the sake of argument that he had half his sacks in 3-4, half in 4-3, which is probably likely actually. If you're getting 7 sacks as a 3-4 nose tackle or 3-4 down lineman, you're an all-pro. That's a lot. Richard Seymour in his prime used to get 8-9 sacks as a 3-4 defensive end. Justin Smith had 7.5 sacks, and he's probably the best 3-4 defensive lineman in the NFL right now. And he's an all-pro. You know, that's elite 3-4 down lineman production. And Muhammad Wilkerson, he's good and all, he's solid, especially for a rookie or a second-year player in Season 2, but he ain't no Justin Smith. But again, he has the requisite block shed and power move rating and strength rating, plus he's fairly quick to succeed despite being an undersized nose tackle at 305 pounds. In the video game world, attributes and ratings trump the physical mass of the player. So in a game like football, you obviously need a balance between having weight and body mass being a factor, as well as what a player is physically capable of doing. So that is my take on the 3-4 defense. Here he is, last play of the game. How does it play out? I bring Derek Thomas in here and I audible everybody to the middle of the field. Wow, chop blocks to the left. And the pass falls incomplete. And I'll post a rematch later on so you can see how that panned out. Good game, good tough game. This guy's a heck of a player. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Love to hear your feedback. Take care. Peace.